Hey everybody, Sean Holsinger here from holsingersflyshop.com. Bringing another video this week, another nymph pattern. This is a really cool looking pattern. This is called my olive squirrel caddis. And a little bit flashy like I like to tie. Olive, which I also like to tie. And a nymph, so all my favorite things. Let's get into tying it. What we're going to use some new products that just came in. Here you can see these are Firehole 315s. This is a new hook come out by them. It's a nymph hook or a stone and clinkenhammer hook. It's 2 extra gap and it's a heavy hook. So this is a really nice hook. I love the shape of this. And another thing we just started carrying at the shop is tungsten beads from Nature Spirit, and you can see the really cool pink color on this one. So let's get into tying it. Check these things out at the shop. We have a new streamer hook that Firehole just started carrying, and there's another hook, and I forget what it is. I'll do a video soon with that one. But and also I'm going to do one soon here with that streamer hook. It's a really nice streamer hook, and I want to make use of it. So let's get into tying our nymph. Okay, here you see is the caddis, and it's not as hard as it may look. It's pretty simple, actually. Let's get into tying it. We're going to put our 315 hook. I'm tying this in a size 12. You tie it bigger, tie it smaller, whatever fits your needs. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple wraps of lead. For the lead, I'm just using .015. Like I like to do, just put about 10 wraps there, enough to hold that bead up in place and give it a little bit of extra weight. This is a tungsten bead, so it is kind of heavy. And I forgot to say, this is a 3.3 millimeter tungsten bead. One thing about these tungsten beads from Nature Spirit is they're kind of off sizes, 3.3, 2.8, different things like that. That's just a little bit off size from what we're used to using. Next thing I'm going to use is some black thread, and we're just going to wrap it on right there behind the bead, and we're going to taper it, behind the lead. We're going to taper it up onto that lead, build a nice little taper there, and then once we do that, cover up that thread there a little bit, or lead a little bit, and then I'm going to cut my tag off, and then I'm going to come back around the bend just a little bit here. Not the whole way around, but enough that I got a nice bend on it. And the next thing we're going to add is some micro UV polar chenille. This is UV, chartreuse. I'm a little tongue-tied here today. Anyway, the UV micro polar chenille. And we're going to tie it on, and I'm not going to tie too much of it down here. I'm going to tie it pretty close to where I want it to be there. And we'll just get it tied down. And then I'm going to come back here to the bend. Now you can, if you want, you can put this, just dub this, but I like to use a dubbing loop. And I want to show off a new tool that we just started carrying. We just started getting this dubbing spinner. And you can see how, to make dubbing loops with, you can see how fast that thing spins around. I always use the old school one, like this one here. And to make it, you had to spin it in your hand. You had to physically spin it to get it to go around. This one here, there's a nice ball bearing in there. Really spins it really fast. So I really like this. Check this tool out on our website. Now what we're going to do, here's how we're going to make our dubbing loop, is we're going to put the 2 hooks here on our thread, okay? And then we're going to, just like we used to the old style, we're going to bring our thread up there. And I'm going to make a little bit of a gap here, and I'm going to wind my thread back. And then about 1 wrap around. And we're going to wrap our thread, we're going to wrap our thread up towards our bead. Okay, now we're going to make our dubbing loop. We can put a little bit of a little bit of wax. And that helps the dubbing stay in there a little bit better. So let's put a little wax on our thread. And for, for dubbing, we're going to use olive SLF dub, hence SLF squirrel dub, hence the squirrel caddis. Okay, we're just going to fit that in between our 2 threads there. And we're going to spread this out. We're going to make it go the whole length. Because this is actually, I'm going to wrap a good bit, make a pretty long one here. Put a fair amount of dubbing on this. And then we're just going to make sure we get that in there the whole way. Okay, now you can see how it's in there to make the brush. Get it in between, and then we just start spinning. And you can see how fast I can spin that around and make a nice dubbing brush there with it. You can see it. You can see it at that angle. You can see how good and buggy this dubbing brush is on the close-up there. And that's what we're looking for. So then we're just going to start wrapping this around. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually use my rotary vise here. So we'll just swing this out. And then I'm going to twist this up with my rotary vise. If you don't have the rotary vise, just do it the old-fashioned way. And side-by-side wraps so I don't make it too thick. And then we're going to get it right up here, right behind the bead, leaving just a little space. So we're going to put a collar on here. Okay, we're going to wrap this down about 3 or 4 wraps. And then we'll trim off our dubbing brush. Okay, and a wrap or two just to make sure. Then we're going to come in with our polar chenille. And we're going to make a rib with this polar chenille. And it's going to create 2 things. It's going to create a rib. And it's going to create a buggy rib by getting them fibers to stand out. And add some flash too, I guess. 3 things. So we're just going to space that nice and evenly. Get about 4 wraps on there. Maybe 5. And then we'll tie it off. Alright, once we tie that off, we'll trim off our tag here. Okay, now what I would like to do is I like to take my dubbing brush and I'll just try to tease that squirrel fiber out there and just make it really nice and buggy looking. And kind of tease it backwards, back towards the bend of the hook there. Okay, now we're going to take a CDC fiber to make our collar. And I'm just going to palmer this on like I would a piece of hackle. So I'm just going to tie it in by the tip. Okay, then we will take our, Then we'll take our hackle pliers, clamp on the back of the feather here. And we're just going to palmer this forward, and we're going to keep teasing the fibers backwards. And we're going to get about 2 wraps out of it, 2 full wraps, and then we'll tie it off. Okay, this is just for a little bit of extra bugginess, because this is a very, very buggy fly. Okay, and then tease them back, and if you have any really, really long ones, which I don't, you can see that's not too long there, so I like the length of that. We're going to leave it at that. Now we're going to put on a piece of partridge hackle. We're going to palmer a partridge hackle up there, and what I'm going to do is, this one's a pretty big one, you can see, so I'm just going to strip one side of it off. And I'm going to only tie down one side of it because I don't want a lot. I just want enough to know it's there. Okay. So you can see there that I stripped one side off. And I have a tag on the other side here. And what we're going to do is we're going to tie it down right behind that bead there. A couple good hard wraps. Hackle plier this. And then make a couple wraps with this and make sure we get those fibers going backwards and just teasing them so they pop out there. Oop. That happens. You'll pull out of your hackle pliers every now and then, actually a lot of times. That's a common thing. So let's just palmer this on and then we'll tie it off. Okay, get a couple good tight wraps there. Then we're going to cut this off here. Okay, now the last thing, I need to cut my tag end of my partridge off. Okay, we're gonna tease those back here, make them lay back over there just a little bit. There we go. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to put a collar on this. And for the collar, I'm going to use some squirrel dub. I'm just going to use some black. You can use some dark brown. Anything that's, a little darker to offset the color of that olive. And I'm just going to dub this. I'm not going to make a brush here. And I just want to make a visible collar. And that's a little bit much. There we go. There we go, nice visible color. That's why I used the black thread, because I wanted to finish up with that black collar. And last thing we'll do is we'll wet finish it, and it'll be done. So you see there, that wasn't as hard as it may look to you. Yeah, it could look a little intimidating because it's pretty buggy looking, but this thing is tied the way you tie it. It naturally becomes buggy. So don't worry about that, and take your time, practice, and it's not too hard. Give it a try. Like I said, it's a fun fly to fish, and it's a fun fly to tie, and you get that little bit of a sense of accomplishment out of it when you're done, because it looks really, really nice. So give it a try. All the materials you need, you can find at the shop at holsingersflyshop.com. And like always, thanks for watching. I enjoy bringing these to you, and subscribe to my channel so you can constantly be updated. So tune in next time, and I'm Sean Holsinger.